When it's raining, we suffer. So when it starts raining, the teachers let us close and go home. The school building is not good for us. We are suffering.
Marian Kobina, a pupil here, telling me about the sort of challenges they have in the school. Hiawa Methodist Basic is one of only 2 basic schools in Hiawa, a mining community in the Memphis Central District of the Western Region. Kids here are not as fortunate as their counterparts in urban centers.
We want the government to help us with our school. It's the building too. We want them to build another school for us. We are suffering, especially the building, the board, chalk. We don't have a proper place to learn. Sometimes snakes comes from the forest. Everybody starts running. We are scared. We need help. It disturbs us, the forest and the school. We need another school and they need to help us.
The wooden structures here, which serves as classrooms for these children, have cracks on them from windows, chairs, doors, and even the roof. Everything here seems to be falling apart piece by piece. School children clamor together on single desks because of lack of furniture here. We are told that when it rains, water comes gushing through the classrooms. Marian says, aside the poor school infrastructure, the pupils in the school have just few textbooks.
We need books. We don't have books. Reading books, English, maths, history, science, creative, all the subjects we learn. We don't have books. Especially the teachers use their computers and their phones to teach us. We don't have books. So we need books.
Confidence Awuvi is a school teacher. According to her, the nature of the school building compels them to close school anytime it rains.
When it's rain, we have to close down the school and go home. And all these are challenges which will not help them improve their academic performance, because here is a region that mostly it's rain. So when it's rain every time and we have to close down the school, it's going to affect the kids. And at the end of the term, we don't achieve anything. And all these are discomforting to us. I've been here for a year now, but how my other colleagues explained, it has been going on for a very long time. And that's the only thing they do. When it's about to rain, they have to close down the school, because sometimes the wind blows very heavily. And looking at how the classroom is, it's not good for the kids. Something might hit them because it's an open place. Yeah.
Madam Confidence says the situation has a telling impact on the kids.
I'm a class teacher, so when I come to school and I teach something and maybe you give them a test, you don't see that reflects in them. So you'll be like, I have taught this, so what's happened? Yeah, and all these are challenges, and I see that because of all these distractions, because you'll be teaching and something will come up, you have to go home. So they don't get anything at the end of the day. So you have to be repeating one thing. So if I'm to teach a topic, 5 topics for a term, and I do only 2, it will affect them. But they are doing the same curriculum with someone who is in a comfortable or conducive environment.
One of the challenges confronting pupils and teachers here is the lack of a sanitary facility that compels both pupils and teachers to resort to the bushes to attend to nature's call.
For my health condition, they passing stool in the bush, sitting here, it's discomforting to the kids as well, because we don't have a urinal and a toilet, so they do all that in the bush, and sitting here for 8 hours, it's really disturbing.
The school management committee chairman of the Hiawa Methodist Business School, Owusu Kwedu, explains these challenges are seriously affecting the education of the pupils here. He says without some quick intervention from the government, these children will continue to learn under such terrible conditions.
How did you be through crowding you tobre? You hard. The last thing I was is you to a film pass, I got a film tea, and we also club bar, say a mutia. Heating so to me, Bemma, Colano, and what's wrong. How did the Dawson? If your environment in a class war, a because environment no determine nipa or life. The environment no M1 Colano. If it's an environment no cry and population about Dawson. But I know I will only be who na say Omabamago.
Na say we mutra gata to anymore. Sans you never school classroom ne bejai.
Gata the chat into once last room no once a fat in as a pressure na wa hano so so to na buafaso.
I would like the government to come to our aid and help us. At least when we get a conducive place, it will be better. We are not asking for much, but at least when the classroom is okay for them, it will be better.
So if someone should set up a library for you, you think it would help you?
ICT lab and science lab. We need some monitors, computers. We don't have some. We need the government, the NGOs to help us for our school and our books too. We need some help.
Maybe someday life will change and the conditions in this school would improve. But one thing is obvious. Regardless of their current situation, the competitive space of higher education and work will not be kind to these children in spite of their backgrounds. For JoyNews, Samuel Kojo Brace, Hiawa.
A very touching story there from my colleague Samuel Kojo Brace. Thank you for staying on the AM show. I'm Bernice Abubeidu Lansa. And Executive Director for the Institute of Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti, has joined me for a very brief conversation on this. Dr. Anti, this is no news to us, right? The infrastructure challenges in our education system. Remember the schools of shame, the one we produced that got the minister talking and complaining some months ago. We have had these conversations at the higher level, bringing in government and why government must step in. Obviously, a non-debatable issue. But I'm beginning to wonder what the local government is also doing. What MPs use their common fund for. What people within the community can also do to ensure that these young ones get the quality of education that they deserve. Listening to that young girl speak so eloquently touched my heart, and I'm just thinking to myself, what kind of excellence she would portray if she was given all the needed support that she deserves. How can we, while we wait for government to do its work, obviously government cannot shirk its responsibility, ensure that we are also asking the local government to do some of these projects and intervene in meeting the needs of these little ones?
I think that we need to revisit our discussion on the decentralization of our educational system. That is what we have to go back to. We were having that discussion, and then I think it got to a point that we couldn't push further on that. And I think if we are able to do that, if we have some sort of partial decentralization policy running, we'll be able to solve some of these problems. And I agree with you. Some of these things you should not wait for the central government to come in. The local government, the local level should be able to handle this. And more importantly, if you look at, I think this is a Methodist school. I've been to this school before. And the church is just close by the school. So I'm thinking that sometimes our local churches should also play some roles in this. I'm thinking that another way that we can also look at this is to see how best we'll be able to bring in the churches as it used to be when they play some serious roles in our educational system. Because the story is disheartening, and you cannot continue to have kids going through this kind of this is not education. There's nothing educational about this. There's an old church building there that some of the kids are even attending school in, and this is seriously not education. And if we are not careful, we are not going to get anything better from whatever it is that we are providing for them, that we are calling education. And we need to act as early as possible. And as you are saying,
two important points. Sorry to interject. One has to do with decentralization. The other has to do with the involvement of churches and mission schools. And I remember, especially at the senior high level, when the conversations about free senior high school came up, and people raised concerns that this could make churches a bit dormant in what they provide in terms of the running of schools that belong to the churches. Now, this school, like you said, has been offered a structure by the church. We don't know the financial muscle of the church. We don't know what the financial arrangements are. But does it appear that government wants to carry the entire burden on its own? Is that the sense you get from your assessment of the education system as it is now? And if not, why does it appear that some of these institutions and organizations that hitherto will pump in so much are beginning to retreat?
Yes, I think that it is a basic duty of government to ensure that education is provided to everybody. That is enshrined in the Constitution, and government needs to do that. But I think what we are not doing well is trying to how best we be able to carry the other stakeholders along to help government fulfill this mandate. Government cannot do everything, and that is the communication that we have not been able to carry well with the populace. But government seems to say that they will be able to do most of these things. But the reality on the ground is clear that government cannot do everything. And that is why the churches would have to come in, civil society organizations, philanthropists, and other people would have to come in and support the provision of education in areas like this. And if you don't have institutions like, your platform to project some of these things, truth be told, some of these things will never come to the limelight. And that is where I still believe your point about the local people taking charge of some of these things and projecting it becomes important, because definitely there will be people within the community who are doing well. There will be people within the community, local, the chiefs, the assemblymen, other things, who can do other kind of activities. Some people do homecoming, they do fundraising, other things to support these schools or these infrastructure challenges that some of the schools within their jurisdiction are going through. So we need to be innovative. Again, I also think that sometimes when the big men from Accra visit our regions and our district, we should take them to some of these schools. And I've had problems with the situation whereby the minister visits a region and is taking to the best schools, and they are taking pictures, and they are showing it all over the place. Whereas within the same district or within the same region, there are very bad schools with bad infrastructure conditions, and nobody talks about them. Nobody takes them there. And you can't blame the minister. There are local people who are responsible for this. And these local people should project their challenges and their problems so that the leaders would see and attend to them. But when they also decide to hide behind whatever reason that they have, and then we take the leaders to places that are doing well, then the leaders feel that they are also doing something substantial and they are improving the lives of the people. But that is not the case. So this is a local problem. We need to get the local people to start pushing up for some of these things. And when the leaders at the top sees that these are happening, they will also find ways and means to help them. Let me say that you know that these schools, they are what they call school supervisors, the CISOs. They visit all these schools. They are supposed to submit reports to the district director of education. So the district director of education knows the state of this school. I visited this school about 3 or 5 years ago. I visited this school. They know the state of this school, and I see it, and I'm like, there's nothing that have changed in this school. So what are we been doing with the reports that are coming from the people we have put on the ground to give us the indication about how education is going on the ground? These are things that we need to start questioning district directors and those people who are responsible for the MP in the area, the district chief executive in the area. They have to come on board and help whilst we work on a broader policy of seeing how best we'll be able to decentralize our education, especially at the basic level. If some sort of partial decentralization can be embarked on, so that the district will have some sort of income to support some of these schools that are very, very poor in terms of their infrastructure and education delivery.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Anti. I'm grateful that you could join us for this conversation this morning. So the broader conversation remains. Meanwhile, here at JoyNews, we will continue to highlight the plight of these young children who deserve the best when it comes to education. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, still on children, but this time round on their health, we'll be focusing on neonatal jaundice. You want to know everything about that? Do stay.